Another thing that causes anger is the loyalty challenge. The loyalty challenge is, for those of you who think, like I did back then, divorce is no big deal, I'm handling it, I'm fine. And for those of you who are from intact families, your families are, you go, I don't understand this whole thing. But let me give you an example. The loyalty challenge is interesting. Basically, the loyalty challenge is having to choose between your mom and your dad. And this is what it looks like. Every year, my sister would fly in from the West Coast. And because she would come in once a year, my mom and my dad, everybody would want to see her, and they would stay at our house. So my dad and my stepmom would drive in, and they'd stay at our house. And my mom and my sister would come in, and they would stay at our house. And it was always interesting when everybody was in the house at the same time. But I was leading worship at the time. And this one Sunday, I had to go in early because we would do rehearsals. And what happened was, I didn't record here, I think I do. We do rehearsal early, so they would come in, and then we would do a song prior to when the congregation would come in. So basically, about 5 minutes before the service would start, I would come down and I would sit here like this. And while I was here, my family was late, so they came in while I was sitting here. And then it came time for me to go up, because I was a leader of worship, and I came up, and I walked up here, and this is what I saw. Our church at the time had pews. So my family was filling an entire pew, and this is what I saw. My dad, my stepmom, my sister from the West Coast, Miss Kathy, my sister who lived in upstate New York, and my mom. So my mom was on that side of the pew, my dad was on this side of the pew. Now when worship is done, who do I sit next to? Because I'm not going to climb over into the middle. So do I sit next to my mom, or do I sit next to my dad? Now, for those of you from intact families, you go, what's the big deal? For those of you from where your parents are divorced, you know what the big deal is. And I'm 50 years old going through this. Who do you sit next to? Now, let me reframe that. You're 10 years old, you're playing a clarinet, you get done, and the teacher says, go sit down with your parents. Now, your dad and his girlfriend are sitting over there, and your mom's sitting over here, and you're thinking, well, I'd like to sit with my dad, because I don't like sitting with my dad. But if I sit with my dad, my mom's going to be upset because she doesn't like a dad, and she really doesn't like his girlfriend. But if I sit with my mom, then my dad's going to be upset because he says I never have any time with him. So if I sit with her, and this kid's 10 years old. And then the next day, he's doing his thing in the classroom, and somebody takes something from him, and he goes, whack! And the teacher goes, why did you do that? And the kid goes, I don't know. And the problem is that kid grows up. And somebody does something. And he goes, whack! And you go, why'd you do that? And he still doesn't know. Because he's not making a connection to the divorce. He's not making that connection. Ephesians 4:26 says, in your anger, do not sin. Do not let the sun go down while you are still angry. And do not give the devil a foothold. Children of divorce have a huge, huge problem